You want your Spider-Man animations to look like they jumped straight out of a Lego movie, then just a simple web line made from curves won't do it. You need muzzle flashes, web impacts and great textures. I've rebuilt the Splendor add-on from the ground up to give you some incredible new features. Your Spider-Man renders are about to get a serious upgrade. Let's dive in. To install it, simply download the add-on file and drag and drop the zip into an open Blender project. Hit OK. Now you'll find it in your N panel. There are two main ways to start: Add Web Rig and Add Web Curve. Clicking Add Web Rig creates a collection called Spider Web Rig with an armature called Web Rig. Make sure that object is your active object. Go to Pose Mode to move it around. You'll find bones at the beginning and the end of the web line, as well as 3 joint bones. You can use them to add some nice shapes to the web. Next to each bone you can also find these little arrow bones to control how sharp or smooth the curve bends. But if you only need a straight line, you can simply hide all the joints using the joint sliders. In the settings panel you have full control over the appearance of the web. Here you can change the color to anything you like. You can change the mesh quality for the viewport and for your final render individually. By default you are viewing the low poly version in your viewport for a better performance, but when you're rendering, the high quality version is set to active. The resolution slider controls the subdivisions of the braided string. The higher, the smoother, but also more demanding in terms of how hardware hungry it will be, of course. If you set the resolution all the way down to 0, the braided string turns into a single strand with a texture on it to mimic the braided look. This is great for webs that are not too close to the camera and for a better performance in any scenario. If you need to scale the web rig, always use the scale slider. Any other method might break it. With a scale of 1, the size of the rig fits perfectly on models imported with a Mechabricks add-on at a scale of 1. Animating and scaling the rig to 0 is a good way to hide it, by the way. Let's take a look at the advanced settings. Handle origin is a neat feature. By default, it's set to center. It means that when you change the length of the web line, the new handle objects that need to be generated appear at the center of the web. Overall, that option is best for the most even distribution of the handles, but it also causes a slight jitter every time a new handle appears. If you select Start, the handles at the start of the web line will always stay in place. New handles are only generated at the end of the web line. This option is great if your camera focuses on the character and not the end of the web. Opposed to that, if you select End, the handles at the end of the web always stay in place and new handles are being generated at the beginning of the web line. Use this if your camera focuses more on the end of the web. You can show and hide individual parts of the web: the start, the handles and the end. Or you can hide everything all at once if you like. Use this instead of scaling to 0, for example. You can now add noise to give your web that organic look. Increase the amount to get started. You can still move all the bones around, but the web won't stick to them perfectly anymore. Detail controls the frequency of the noise and Seed changes the seed, of course. With the Start slider you can control how much noise is happening at the first half of the web. And End controls the amount of noise for the second half of the web. You also have a couple of advanced string options. You can add a mesh-based coating around the individual braids to give them that plasticky or nylon cord look of the original pieces. You can achieve almost the same effect, but with much less geometry with the material-based coating option below, which is why it is the default option. And you can also add more displacement to emphasize the individual fibers on each strand if you want to. Let's look at the style panel where the fun stuff is. Grab Handle offsets the web rig in a way that your character can hold the web by a handle instead of holding it at the first round start. It will also apply the correct positional and rotational offset automatically. That is if you're using Mechabricks models. If you're using different 3D models, some manual adjustments might be necessary. Enabling Muzzle Flash will also give you the Muzzle Flash settings. Right away, nothing seems to be happening. That is because the Muzzle Flash works now in combination with the completion slider. Move it down to 0 and the Muzzle Flash piece will appear. I added different styles to choose from. You can rotate them freely and also hide the transparent handle and the round stud piece if you want to. EndNet is a bit like Muzzle Flash, but at the end of the web line. In the net settings you can also change the style. Set the rotation, or hide the bracket piece if you want to. Version 1.5 also add the web shooter toggle. This turns your web line into a projectile that you can animate using the completion slider. Together with the Muzzle Flash you can have the flash a bullet, and an impact splash. The bullet has two slightly different styles. You can also rotate them, of course. And you can define the style of the impact splash, while 0 hides the impact entirely. The rotation of the impact is linked to the end bone of the rig, but you can also rotate it independently with these controls. Realize impact is another neat feature. Hit that button and the impact splash piece will be added to your scene as its own object, so it will stay wherever the web hits anything. Then you can move the end bone around, shoot another bullet, and repeat. We already took a good look at the completion slider, but not yet in combination with the end orientation button. By default, the end of the web line will align itself along the web line while you animate the completion. But with a large end net and a lot of noise, that might look a bit weird. So you can enable end orientation, and now the end will no longer align itself along the curve, but it will copy the rotation of the end bone. Let's see how we can attach the rig to a character's hand. Click the eyedropper and make sure to select the hand object. Not the armature, the hand object. The start of the web will automatically align with the hand, if you're using Mechabricks models. If you don't like how all the other bones are left behind, you can also click on Move to Hand and everything will align correctly. Let's say you have animated a little swing animation and you need your character to let go of the web. Simply click the Let Go button and all the necessary keyframes will be added. If, for whatever reason, you might need your character to grab the same web again after letting go of it, you can click the little Grab Again button and once more all the keyframes will be added to make that happen. Now it's finally possible to attach the web to both hands at the same time. Just pick the main hand object first and then the second hand. The joint one bone will move into the correct position. Note that the handle object might not necessarily align itself with the hand right away. That is because the handles have a fixed distance to each other, while the arms and hands don't. So you might need to play around a bit, for example, with the Bezier controls until it fits. If you want the second hand to let go of the web, simply animate the influence slider down to 0 and the joint 1 bone will move back to its original location. By the way, the extend joint slider for joint 1 must be set to 1 for the second hand grab to work properly. With the slider set to 0, you will get some weird behaviors. Also make sure that the location and rotation of the joint 1 bone are set to 0, otherwise it won't match the hand's position. Attached to a target should be pretty self-explanatory. Pick a target and if needed, move the end bone to the target as well. If the bone controller vanishes inside the object, you can always enable the armature overlays option up here. Now you can see all the bones even if they are occluded by other things. Adjust the end a bit and now you can move the web by moving the target object around. Disable the parent button to disable the attachment. Last but not least, you can also draw your own web curves. Click the Add Web Curve button and you should automatically be in edit mode with the draw tool selected. Now you can draw your webs in any shape or form you like. Back in object mode, you might see that you can't adjust those webs inside of the end panel. For those webs, you must go into the Modifier tab, and here you can find all the settings that you can change. Show and hide individual parts, quality settings, change the color, and so on. And that's the amazing Spider Web Rig 1.5. It's faster, more detailed and way more versatile than ever before. You can find the add-on link in the description. If you have any feedback, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at tinkle_films or right here on YouTube. And if you need to make a big 3D city scene for your Spider-Man animations, you might also want to check out this video here. Bye bye!